Meltdown crew here with you for yet another spoiler-filled review. This time it is of Furiosa, a Mad Max saga. If you've not yet seen the film and you want to be a part of the conversation, go see it first, and then come back here for this spoiler review. We're about to get into all the details of this prequel to Mad Max Fury Road. I am Tim Melton. That is John Lunsford. John, we are on opposite sides of the aisle when it comes to this film. You seem to really like it, one of your favorite movies of the year, and I am selling just about everything about this, minus the production quality of it, just because I'm not a fan of the source material. I'm not saying it's a horrible film. I'm saying that I couldn't care less about what I'm seeing on the screen when it's up there, and that goes for Fury Road and for Furiosa. I was very honest and transparent about this going into the process, hoping that this one would win my heart. I just don't get the fascination and I think an overabundance of appreciation for these movies.
I grade movies more based on technical things because that ultimately can still make for a very enjoyable film. And that obviously is done well in this movie. I think my dad said it best. He said, look, with the cars and explosions in this, I can be entertained and still have a good night at the movies. And that ultimately still makes it a good night at the movies. Now, I did enjoy the story of it, too. I enjoyed the acting of it. There's some questions within the film that Laurel has brought up, I have brought up, my dad brought up, all watching it all together, that I do still have some questions with that keeps it from being higher than it. I think it could have reached heights of being best movie of the year for me, but ultimately it's one of those that, like, boy, that was a fun movie to watch. Crazy explosions, craziness. Yeah, that it's good. It's good enough for me.
I'm not trying to convince anybody else that they shouldn't like this movie. I'm just got to be honest with you always about the way I feel about it, and the way I feel about it is I couldn't wait for this thing to be over. Laurel, I feel like you're in my camp. Tyler, I feel like you're in John's camp, so this is going to be 2v2 a little bit, but Laurel, we're not looking to start a war here. We're not looking to fight.
I really liked the first. I really liked the first one. I was trying to get excited for this one, and I really like Anya-Taylor-Joy. I think she's great. Chris Hemsworth is whatever, but I really like her. I wanted to like it. There just is a disconnect there. I don't know. There were several times, since this is a spoiler review, like when they're jumping around, like when she ages up, they kind of tease this relationship that she has with this guy, but you don't really know it's really a relationship until the very last time that they're together. And it's like, that would have been interesting. I wish we could have seen if these two people that are in like this, crazy, disgusting area have somehow found love. That would be interesting because that was a good scene. But it's like they never talk, so you don't feel anything for it. You want to, but it's just not there.
Some things I sort of liked. I liked the audio cues at the beginning about things are going wrong here in our civilization and things are about to hit the fan. And I liked those little audio cues going into the actual story itself. I kind of liked the chapter 1 of this story, the setup. I kind of dug the motivation for why Furiosa hates Chris Hemsworth as much as she does in this movie. And so I was kind of into it more than I thought I'd be early in the film. But then chapter 2, I was like, oh, please end. Please end. The repetitiveness.
It just kept going. It
just kept on going. I really couldn't wait for it to stop. I thought about walking out. And I don't walk out of movies, but I thought about walking out, not because it was so bad, but because I was just so annoyed by it. I don't know how else to put it.
And this is a question for everyone here. Tyler, since you really liked it, maybe you can help. I'm confused. Did they know when she came back that she was the little girl?
No, they thought she was a man,
right? She was a boy
that
for
makes
a lot
no
of it.
sense to me.
Okay, that's what I'm saying. Hiding. And then when she came back and said, I'm Furiosa, how did they know that was her?
So, all right. So, first off, did you see some of the kids in this? I mean, you look at a lot of these, you can't tell what they are. Second, when she comes back, so like the part Laurel's confused at was when she came back with Jack, it's like, well, how are they accepting this person? He was so respected as like he's the driver that had made this run so many times and made it flawlessly every single time.
But they didn't recognize that was the same person that had been there?
Because it was a shaved head little girl trying to be a boy. Now she's a grown woman with long hair.
Enough that you would know.
Yes,
but she didn't
I
have
agree.
the features. Like, she didn't have a certain mask she always wore. She didn't always have like
Her
a certain.
eyes are enough of a feature
I mean, and
to
she
get that
was
across.
so there's no way that you
There
would have
used to be
thought
a
that was a
girl
boy.
here that had blue eyes. You also have blue eyes. Y'all must be the same person.
I just don't know if you would have thought that was a boy when she like looked very feminine when she like.
Did you see?
Well, they
someone-
made reference to it a few times. They were like, "Oh, look at this one,
yeah,
so
how scrawny you are. Yeah.
But then they wouldn't recognize it's the same person with the same face. I don't see it. Sorry.
Don't forget the name that always came out, Little T, which
Little
was
D,
that
not
was
T.
it Little D?
Little
Yeah,
D.
Little
All I
D.
heard was Little T in my head the entire time.
No, it's Little D because it was Chris Hemsworth character started with a D, and so Dementis,
Little
Little D.
Dementis.
I heard Little T every time. I don't know if it's
Did you
just because
actually?
I'm working here
Okay.
at Disrupt way too much or what it was. I was like,
Dementis.
interesting. Dementis. I like that better.
I'm starting to
Tyler.
realize why y'all didn't like the movie now.
It's dumb. That's just the easiest way to put it. I just find it to be exhausting and dumb.
Okay.
That's my opinion. Not trying to change yours. Tyler, you love this film. You plan on probably seeing it again in the cinemas.
Oh,
Yes,
Tyler.
I do. I loved the cinematography and visual effects in this, and I loved the world building. A lot of prequels, I feel like, don't really have a reason to be made, but this one built out the world in a way that was so satisfying that I think it justifies the movie.
Did it really
And-
build out the world? Because I feel like it did a lot of just explaining Fury Road.
Well, I mean, Fury Road didn't explain much Fury Road,
Fury Road
so
did
I'll
not
take it in
explain
this.
the world at all because you had basically Gastown, you had Bullet Farm, and then
the
you had the
Citadel.
Citadel. That like you just knew those things existed, and then people ended up coming from those, and they end up being a part of like the crazy war rig fights and all that in Fury Road. But this one set up, hey, what did Gastown specifically do? What did it look like?
Yeah.
Tell me about Gastown. Okay, what did the Bullet Farm actually look like? Tell me about that and how it. I mean, it told how it changed hands during Immortan's Joe's time running the Citadel, how things ultimately changed and how he ended up getting to where he was, to where then you start Fury Road, and then that saga starts from there. It explained everything about that, and then the setup in the first act kind of explained how we even got to that point.
I think if you care about all that stuff, you're going to love this movie. I think if you go in just wanting a really good action movie that has explosions and cars that are blowing up and people throwing things, and you're probably going to enjoy it. I don't know what I'm looking for from these movies, but this ain't it. I know I'm not looking for this.
I mean, I don't care about Garfield, but if they at least explain decently how Garfield came into John's care, then it's, I could say, okay, at least they did a good job explaining it. I thought they did a perfect job explaining it all.
So sometimes you like when movies explain themselves, and sometimes you don't like when movies explain
No, I'm just saying if
themselves.
the complaint is it didn't explain, it literally did explain perfectly fine.
Check out our Civil War review here on the channel. Tyler, what is the best part of Furiosa? What is the thing that maybe it does better than Fury Road did? What's the thing that advances this? Because it's been, 9 years since Fury Road?
Yeah, Fury Road was 2015, I believe.
Yes.
There were a lot of the war rig scenes and just wasteland war. I thought was done better than Fury Road, and then the parts that weren't done as well as Fury Road, I thought were just right there or right below it.
That first big war rig scene when she's like hiding under the war rig.
That is such a good
That
sequence.
is by far the best scene out of the last two
Amazing.
movies. That is by far the best scene that has been done.
I respect the production on this. I really do. I just wish I could care about the property, and I don't. It nauseates me. It frustrates me. I don't find satisfaction in it. It becomes highly repetitive in my professional opinion, and I just can't get on board with it. What's your biggest barrier to entry in this movie, Laurel, walking out of this being thankful it was over, much like me?
It just went on for so long. I think, and this goes for, this is almost every movie that we review, except for The Strangers Chapter 1.
Oh, gosh. This is where we start to fight.
I feel like if there had been about 20 minutes shaved off of it, it would have been, it just was, I feel like they maybe didn't need, I think they had like the act one I thought was good. I don't think they needed the second act with her still young. And then I think if they had just kind of maybe progressed that more, maybe that would have sped it up more. But it's kind of like you're waiting for Anya-Taylor-Joy to like show up, and you're like, oh, this has been like an hour.
I wouldn't have minded if it
Was an hour.
started with her and then had flashbacks the entire time, kind of
That
setting
would
up.
have probably, like House
She
of the
goes
Dragon, kind
in-
of. That might have been better.
She
too.
goes into Gastown. Well, then there's a pre-part setting up what Gastown even was and why Dementis ended up taking over Gastown. Like there's certain aspects of that interspersed as opposed to there's clearly 1 hour before Anya Taylor-Joy shows up, and then there's the other hour
I
and
do
a half
have a
after she does show
question.
up.
Do you think that she would have really chosen to go? Like, I feel like I understand that Chris Hemsworth's character murdered her mother. I do understand that. I was kind of surprised she just went with these new people, though, including like the sons, where one was.
She knew what the other option was at the very least.
It's like the other one, like there's this man who's clearly interested in this like young girl, which is supposed to be unsettling.
Bottom line, she
I'm
wanted
just
to get
kind of
home.
surprised that she left him, because I'm saying he is horrible, but like he seemed to treat her fairly.
She wanted to get
I don't know if that was
home and
ulterior motive.
Kept
The
her in
Cit-
a cage.
The Citadel was, he kept her in a cage the whole time, and he watched him. I mean, the most brutal scene in the whole thing was towards the beginning when she's in the cage, and they has that. It's basically the Joker break a stick and hey, I'm having tryouts kind of thing.
There were a lot of Heath Ledger mannerisms in this, I felt.
Yeah, but then it's like, well, I want to be closer to home. This place has greenery. I feel closer to home here.
I guess it's
I'll take my
because
chances.
in the first one, that she hates the main person so much, like that, whatever that character is,
Morton
with
Joe.
the
Morton
long
Joe.
hair. It's just kind of odd that she was like, oh, okay, I guess I'll just go with these people. In my opinion.
I hated the idea that the mother of Furiosa wasn't willing to kill in order to protect her child. Like, I guess
she literally killed
were you
like
there for the
20
first
people.
part
I'm
of the
talking
movie?
about the person that she had to kill to finally get away. The mother that she spared. You remember?
Oh, yeah, I did find that to
okay.
be. I was a little
Okay.
She
surprised.
just
at that.
killed
The way that was phrased,
yeah,
it
I
was like it was
misunderstood.
her
no,
mother.
John. There are some things that I understand you can hit me on. This one makes sense. You just got to think about it. That she gets to the finish line of this and decides to collapse right before the race. It makes no sense from the motherly instinct point, in my opinion, but I still like chapter 1. I understand you have to kill off the mother to give the inspiration. I get that. I just didn't buy it at all that would actually be something that a mother would go through that much bloodshed and then get to a point where she decided not to after training herself the entire desert run, that she has to finish this job no matter what it takes.
Well, I do think that scene does show some humanity in Furiosa's mother and just where they came from, and that it is entirely different from the people who inhabit the wasteland.
Sure.
So I'll defend it there.
Sure. I think it's a convenient setup to move the plot forward. But that's what a lot of this is for me. I think if you love Fury Road, this is going to be a 4 out of 5 or a 5 out of 5 for you. John, you're chuckling. You want to take it over?
It's like the whole point of a prequel is to set up the story. So that's the whole point of this movie.
I don't
It's
buy
like,
the motivation.
I don't like the move that this movie sets up the story of Fury Road. It's like I don't like that the prequels of Star Wars
what I
set up
said.
Darth Vader. I mean,
That's
And was that
literally
supposed to be
not what I
Tom
said.
Hardy's character at some point in the movie?
Standing on the rocks, yes.
Standing on
that's
the rocks
Mad
as she
Max.
collapses in the
But,
desert.
They got the guy who played who was the stunt double
double.
for Tom Hardy in Fury Road too.
And it's his car that he's sitting next to. That's supposed to make you kind of realize it's him.
Okay.
All right, let's get into our final grades here of Furiosa. Once again, if I was grading this on what I think people will think of this, it's a 4 out of 5. But what I thought of this, it's a 1.5 out of 5. That's been my enjoyment experience with Furiosa. John, I hate that you're so perturbed by my being
say
perturbed
anything.
of this movie, but you go right ahead with your score. What's your final score?
I give it a 4 out of 5.
As predicted.
Okay. I mean, I gave it a 4 out of 5 last night on Letterboxd. It's been a 4 out of 5. It's a 4 out of 5 movie. There's a few things I would fix or do differently in it that keep it from being higher than that. But ultimately, it's a fun movie to see in the theater. I do recommend seeing it on a bigger screen and as loud as humanly possible. And I thought the acting was good in it. I thought the story was good setting up, and I very much enjoyed it more than Fury Road.
One thing that I really enjoyed was I did not go to the theater that was the loudest in town because I would have probably walked out. Laurel, I feel for you. What's your final grade on Furiosa?
I would say a 2.5, 3. I think it's got good set design. I think a lot of the acting is good. I think there is a story. If you're a fan of it, you're right. You probably say 4.5 out of 5. I like the first one better. This one, you know what? If you are like, hey, it's summer, let's go to the movies, this is a good choice. I will never watch this movie again. Like, I highly doubt you're ever going to watch this movie again.
I mean, there's a lot of movies this year I'm not going to watch.
I
again
just like
necessarily.
don't think I'll ever like choose it. Like, if it was an option, do you think you would choose it?
Depends what the other options were. If it's this and Dune 2, no. If it's this and The Strangers,
If
yes,
it's
absolutely.
if it was
Stay tuned for Pick Your
this,
Picture.
Which movie? It was always when we're on vacation. Is like Endgame. Would you choose this or Endgame?
Endgame's one of the greatest movies of all time.
Okay.
No, it's gonna be
So
Endgame.
I'll probably never watch it again. But they tried, and I think they succeeded in what they wanted. So
It's like this or The Godfather for most people. It's like, well, I mean, in that case. I'd still choose this over The Godfather. But anyway,
Tyler, final grade on this movie.
I got to go with a 4.5 out of 5. I thought
wow.
Anya-Taylor-Joy's performance, even though she says maybe single-digit amount of words throughout the whole movie, gave a great performance. Chris Hemsworth was amazingly demented, name-fitting, and I think history will look back at this one a lot more kindly than you and Laurel are right now. I think maybe 10 years from now, people will watch this one and say that this is a really good prequel. And in my opinion, this prequel makes Fury Road better, whereas another prequel we both saw, First Omen, only hurts the Omen, in my opinion.
and I will say this is the best stuntman movie of the year
I'll agree with that, too.
because so much of this movie, as was with Fury Road, it's like, no, we're gonna do it real. We're gonna do it
So
live.
it felt like a shot at the Fall Guy, which I thought if there was going to be someone taking
no,
a shot at the Fall Guy, it
I
was
like
me.
the Fall Guy too, but this is better than the Fall Guy, and this has incredible stunt work in it. And like I said, that war rig scene alone is worth the price of admission. And this is another random thing before we finish too that I forgot to say. This is one of the few prequels that I've seen that I like the fact that everything you see in it looks more advanced than the future version of it. What I mean by that is when you watch Star Wars and you go back to the prequels, like everything is so much more advanced than it was because Star Wars originally was in 1977. This is coming out, 1999, that we have just advanced in movie making. This one had, I feel like, more advanced machinery, but from this standpoint, I like that as time goes on, things degrade and just the world around you degrades and the options available to you go down. I mean, they're flying in this one. They have like flying things that they're moving around, and you just don't have that in Fury Road. You're on a stick going back and forth, which they also have in this one. The war rig is like totally, pimped out and everything. It's like Exhibit had gotten all over that war rig versus what you saw in the original one. That I kind of like that because in a post-apocalyptic standpoint, everything should be going downhill. So it's a different than like Star Wars, where it's like, man, where was all these cool droids and weapons and everything when it came to original Star Wars, and why, because it's the time of your life that the movie's been made. But I like that too.
Furiosa has great sound design, lots of noises for a lot of people, and a place that always seems to create a lot of noises over there on your technological advices. That's MyBookie when you're getting those free spins, my friend.
Yeah, it's making the cha-ching sound a lot on my computer. Go to mybookie.ag, use promo code next round, get that first deposit bonus on us when you sign up and make that first deposit. You can play in the casino, you can play in the sports book, go to the live casino, play with real blackjack dealers there. I love doing that, and that's where the cha-chings happen the most for me. And those slot machines, a lot of free spin giveaways there, so make sure to sign up, mybookie.ag.
Furiosa was my second least favorite movie of the year so far, but I know I'm in the minority on this. Feel free to let us all know your opinions in the comment section below. Are you team Tyler and John, or are you team Tim and Laurel? Let us know. We would love to hear from you on whether or not you were drugged to this movie and endured it, or whether or not it's, maybe it's the best movie you've seen all year long. We'd love to hear your opinion. Make sure you like this video and subscribe here to The Meltdown, as we'll have more spoiler-filled reviews for you all summer long.